welcome today to our interview, and we are very excited, as always, to have someone to talk about sailing with us. And today we have a top star athlete and a thought leader, and I want you to hang in there for a few seconds while we get ready and go live. And most important, sail fast. All right, welcome back. Today, first of all, I want to thank our team. We want to thank Duarte, Marley, and Robert. Without them, these programs cannot go live. We do this as a team, and we enjoy this more than you guys can imagine. All right, so today, as I mentioned, I have a top athlete to interview. And every time it's very exciting, but again, super excited again. Today, we're talking to Marcin, and I'll let him tell us about himself a little bit. Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me today.
Of course. Pleasure is all ours. So, Marcin, let's get started. Who are you?
Okay.
Where are you from? Where did you grow up? How did you get started with sailing?
Okay. Well, hello to all who are listening to us today. And well, to answer your question, today Marcin Rudawski is almost 40 years old, almost retired, 6 times world champion, 8 times European champion in laser radial, a husband and a father. I guess I can also call myself an entrepreneur. I own and manage 2 companies. I'm also a mentor and a mental coach to athletes and business people. Well, I definitely can call myself a busy person. I was born and I'm still living in Warsaw. Warsaw is the capital city of Poland. It is located in the middle of the country, around 300 kilometers away from the sea coast. The closest lake to the city center is probably about 1 hour driving away. So as you see, sailing is definitely not an obvious choice for someone living in Warsaw. It definitely wasn't for me. And as an 8 years old kid, I wanted to play football, as you know, many kids. My father took me to the football club, and surprisingly, they told him that I was too young to join, and that he should bring me when I would be, well, at least 10. Something that, you know, nowadays it would never happen. I guess even, well, 4 years old kids can join almost any sport club. But please keep in mind that it was 1989, Eastern Europe, Poland included, was very different from what we see today. It was just after communism era, and we needed many years to learn how to function in open economy. So after the football club, my father took me to athletics club. He thought it would be easier, and he had exactly the same answer. The only club that wanted a boy who wasn't 10 was a sailing club. So they were gathering a new group of kids around, I guess, 8 and 10. And this is how I started sailing. It has changed my life on every layer. Enough to say that, you know, I still have contact with few members of that group, and well, I consider them really close friends.
I cannot agree more with that last statement. The group of us that put this channel together, we met in middle school 25, 27 years ago. And, you know, the idea came up to start doing these interviews, and we just clicked like we've seen each other every day. We're like best friends. And,
Okay.
you know,
Oh, this is great.
of course we fight and we argue, but we work together so well. It's incredible. So I'm glad you brought that up. So Marcin, tell us about the history of sailing in Poland. It seems we have a lot of champions that come out of your home country, and you know, just curious about that.
Okay, this is actually a great question. To be honest, I've never thought about that, but But you are right. Like, Polish sailors are quite successful, no matter which in sailing. 1 gold and 3 bronze medals, and number of world and European champions is probably difficult to evaluate today. What is the key factor behind that? to be honest, I don't really know. Well, sailing has a great history in Poland, but not its competitive side. This part is relatively new. Like I said before, years of communism have not helped to develop sailing as a sport. It all happened after 1981. We do. I mean, Poland have many lakes, but only 2 or 3 big enough to call them a good sport to develop as a competitive sailor. Poland has few hundred kilometers of seaside, but still only few proper marinas which are able to hold the regatta. Sailing season in Poland is rather short, so it is not an advantage.
I can imagine.
As well.
I can imagine.
We have a proper winter now, so maybe those successes, come because we learn how to use every moment on the water, every training session to our advantage, and later, when we advance in our sailing careers and are able to train over 200 days a year, traveling around the world, we develop our skills faster than our rivals from countries where you can sail almost every single day,
right,
but you rarely do. So I guess it makes sense. Still, I'm not sure if I'm right, but definitely my example proves this. I mean, recent seasons, I sailed maybe 30 days a year, and I still managed to compete on world-class level.
Well, this is a topic also that came up on our last interview, where you have number of days sailing, quantity versus quality day of sailing, right? Myself, I come from Cuba. It's an island in the Caribbean, so we can sail 365 days a year.
Exactly.
Yet we don't have Olympic sailors, right? Yeah. So we do spend a lot of time on the water, but maybe the quality of that time it's not as high. So that's
this is what
to discuss, and learn about. Eventually, hopefully through these interviews, we gain some knowledge, and that can benefit the next generation of sailors.
Sure, you can.
So, Marcin, we know you've competed in several countries and continents. So, and tell us about your favorite competitions and your favorite events.
Okay, this is sort of a really broad question because I started competing in Optimist when I was probably 10, and I still do. So it's like 30 years of taking part in competitions on every level. I started from a local regattas on a lake nearby Warsaw. There are few clubs around the lake, and every Sunday we had a small local regatta. Then we started to travel around Poland for sort of a national cup series. Definitely next big step was Polish nationals in Optimist. First time I won a national title was in 1994, I guess. Since then, I was a member of the Optimist national team in 94, 95, and 96. And that were my first international trips to Italy, to Turkey, to Finland, and to Spain. Before that, I rarely had the chance to compete on international regatta. After that, I started sailing laser, and after joining the Polish national laser team, I started to travel with the team around the world, taking part in like every level of competition, from local national regatta, local national championships to world championships. And to be honest, it would be very difficult to mention all countries I was in. I've never been to Cuba though. But country that impressed me the most was definitely New Zealand. The most beautiful and friendly country I ever visited. I was really fortunate to be able to spend there over 3 weeks with a rented car. so I could drive around the country and do some sightseeing. It was definitely the trip of my life. The sailing there is fantastic. Can you imagine that the laser nationals in New Zealand, they never happened twice in the same spot. So imagine how many yacht clubs can run the regatta. This is actually amazing.
I've seen images of New Zealand. It's a beautiful country, but I never really think about what the seaside looks like, under their sea conditions, because it is an island, right?
Yeah, it is an island, and it is actually pretty windy with a nice sea breeze. I've been there on I think middle of January, so it's a summer there.
Summertime, right?
Yeah. So, but it wasn't really hot. I mean, it was 25 degrees.
That's nice.
It was really beautiful. Very green place. Really green. And I wish I could go back there.
You're making me want to. Okay, so we know you've won a long list of events and championships, but is there one that it's particularly in your heart, right? That it means the most to you?
There is one, and I don't actually think it is that obvious which one. For me, it was Radial Worlds in La Rochelle in 2011. I won Worlds in 2009 and then in 2010. Just few sailors in laser history did the same before me. I guess no one won 3 world titles 3 times in a row. So it was an extra motivation. I had a chance to achieve something that no one before me did. I was really excited, but it was stressful as hell at the same time. And moreover, my coach, who was supposed to travel with me to France, canceled just few weeks before the regatta. Well, I couldn't go without the support on the water. It's vital on the top level. So I had to ask my father to take 2 weeks of work and travel with me to France. Before that, last time he saw me sailing was probably 2001, so 10 years ago. And he has no sailing experience. He has no coaching experience whatsoever. And it's turned out that he was even more stressed than I was. He could not drive his coach boat around the course to watch me sailing. And the regatta itself was really windy and extremely difficult. After 4 days, I could barely walk the stairs. Everything was decided on the last race of the event. I had to finish in front of my closest rival, and I remember that race really well. After both upwinds, I was 1 place behind him, and just after the wind 1 mark, when we started sailing downwind, I jibed to port. Something I was not really intending to do, especially in 25 knots and huge waves. And it turned out to be the smartest move I could do at that time. I got a better angle for the waves, and I was much faster than all other boats on starboard. I easily overtake him and another boat ahead of us. I won the last race of that event and the 3rd consecutive world titles.
Wow!
Sometimes those things happen. You don't think about them. You don't plan them. They just happen, and they turn out to be the best
thing that ever happened.
Best possible move. Yes, exactly. So this was exactly the case. And when they played the Polish anthem at the prize giving ceremony, I guess that was the first time when I saw my father laughing and crying at the same time.
But that's a beautiful story,
It was really touching. I will never forget.
It's a beautiful story because both, from the competitive, sport level, it's very important, right? Having won this, 3rd consecutive, but also having your father there, right? Coaching you, right, without experience. and how, knowing that he's there on the coast, watching you sailing and winning and struggling. So that's a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing.
That was really, really touching, and probably one of my best moments in sailing.
I'm sure. So tell us about your when you were an athlete, right? When you were active, how was your training, right? Your physical training, your technical training. How much running did you do, or weight, or how was that? How was that like?
Okay, it has changed a lot. I mean, when I was young, at let's say 20 years old, and today. So actually, I used to train 6 times a week, and well, to be honest, I still try to keep that regime. But when I was younger, I spent around 200 days on the water every year. Today, probably less than 20. When I was younger, I could do 2-3 training sessions a day. It could be 2 hours of trainings on the water, followed by bicycle ride or a gym session, or cycling in the morning, then sailing and a gym, or maybe swimming at the evening. Today, well, there is no way I will survive something like that. I must focus now much more on the recovery. 30 years of competing were a burden on my health. I have 2 hernias on my spine, and I have to cope with the severe back pains from time to time. Luckily, sailing is not something what you forget easily. So all the hours I spent on the water through those 20 years, they still pay off. And well, today I spend most of my training time at the gym and cycling. And well, when I say gym, I don't mean doing weights. Most of the gym session I spend on the floor, stretching and doing all kind of back exercises. Well, there is an advantage. I mean, this type of preparations help me to spend more time with my family and to take care of my businesses rather than traveling around the world. And well, when you are 40, those things become more and more important. But when I was younger, I did focus a lot on fitness preparation. And when I started when I went back to sailing radial and started to achieve my best results, it was thanks to my physical preparation. I was 100% sure that I am the best, or at least one of the best, prepared physically for the event. And Europeans, worlds, this is like 1 week event.
Right.
It cannot be luck. You have to be in your top shape for whole week. You have to be able to recover from day to day. Right. And the laser is, well, it is a physical boat. You have to be really well prepared physically.
Thank you for sharing. I think a lot of sailors do a lot of cycling. It's less impact than running, right?
Yeah.
And it's easier than swimming, right? Swimming requires a pool and
sure,
etc. You can cycle just about anywhere. So thank you for sharing. I think also I know a lot of my friends who sail, they still do some cycling. Because it gets you adrenaline pumping, it gets you exercise, you outside, you get the wind on your face, a little bit like sailing, but not sailing.
Yeah, but you can do cycling for long hours, and
right.
well,
unlike running or swimming.
Yeah.
On a little bit going back to your younger days, right? And you mentioned a little bit how you ended up sailing, right? Because the soccer clubs football club thought that you were too young. But at that time, right, when you first got into the Optimist, what was the most interesting to you about sailing? What attracted you the most about it?
Well, there are many aspects of sailing that I like, and when I was younger, probably traveling was the most important factor to me. All my friends were sitting at school desk whole winter while I was spending time in Canaries Island or somewhere in southern Europe.
Nice.
And well, to be honest, at that time I didn't really appreciate enough an opportunity which traveling was giving me. To visit different cities, to learn different culture, to see cultural monuments around the world. It was just visiting airport, hotel, and the marina, nothing else. I was focused on sailing and on competing. Well, I regret that a little today, but it did make me a successful sailor. So basically, this is something I would consider as my top priority at that time when I was sailing and optimist.
Good. Thank you for sharing that. Now, a little bit going back to that thought of the younger self, right? If you had a chance to speak to a 12-year-old boy or girl and they ask you about sailing, what would you tell them?
This is truly a great question. Well, I would tell about all the lessons I learned. One of the most important lessons I learned is to be patient. It is so easy in today's world to say to yourself, it is too difficult, it is too complicated, I will never become a world-class sailor. You will. You just need patience. You just need dedication and discipline. Put in the hard work every single day. Focus on all aspects of your lives that can benefit in your sailing career. Well, and have fun on the way doing this. Don't be afraid to lose, because in sailing you will fail many times. Learn from every single mistake, draw conclusions, and try to do better next time. Well, and finally, believe in yourself. Remember, from life and from sport, you will receive only as much as you believe you are worth. Doing heavy, difficult things, especially those things that others don't want to do, is the best way to build faith in yourself. And with time, one day you will start to believe that you deserve more than your rivals, because you did and you are still doing more than they are. So basically, this is something I would like to hear from my coaches when I was 12. Unfortunately, no one explained me that in a way I would fully understand that.
I'm going to say that was awesome. I'm glad you put that out. I mean, in a few seconds, right? Such a powerful list of truths, right? That are important, not just, like you said, not just for sailing, but for daily life, right?
Yeah.
And I agree that I wish I would have heard I wish I would have heard something like that in my younger life. But I think our generation is becoming much more aware of the power of patience and really thinking about the process of getting better, right?
Okay.
Right, like you said, today everybody wants a solution right now. They want results right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's good to have that train of mind, right? Of looking at the process and the future, and knowing that it takes time to get there, and effort.
Yeah.
So with this answer you gave us earlier, you gave us a little bit of an introduction, I say, into your new challenge, right? This new challenge you're taking in your career, right? So
Yeah.
tell us about this new experience, this new exploration of mental toughness that you are focusing on after your successful career.
Well, this is something I developed, the mental toughness for myself, by myself, and I never thought it would be helpful to others. Well, last question, I just answered that I was unfortunate because no one told me the hard truths about sport and life, and I had to learn that myself. And today, maybe actually it was a blessing. I had to find out everything by myself. I was experimenting on myself. It took a long time, that's true, but it worked. And I did excel in sailing. And then, in 2014, one of the national team radial sailors asked me for help. And I started working, some sort of a sparring partner / coach. However, we spent so much time together that I started to teach her all the mental tricks, all the sport-related skills I knew, about the attitude and the manner, about hard work, about patience, about discipline, how to cope with failures. And, to my surprise, she never heard it before. So thanks to that, she started to grow as an athlete. And from being around 80th at Worlds when we started working, after 3 years, she finished 7th at the Europeans. She was 10th at the Worlds a year after that. So, after we finished working with, after I finished working with her, other people started to ask me for sort of a mentorship, and I have them. Then business people who noticed that, not only I can be a world champion, but I also run 2 companies at the same time. So they wanted to learn how my productivity model looks like, how I manage my time, how I set my goals and deliver results. So I started to help those people. And today I work actually more with business people than athletes. So it started to be sort of a third company I have to run today. And to be honest, this is the most rewarding one by far. Helping people achieving their goals and their dreams is wonderful, wonderful feeling.
I agree again. Throughout this interview, I agree again with you. I think when you help others, feels better than when you win something just for you. I mean, winning something is great, feels good, right? You work hard, you win something, you deserve it. But when you help someone else to win something, it's a different, special kind of good feeling about it, right?
Yeah, and to be honest, I've never thought, 10 years ago that I would take this path. Never. If, there were, when you are a world champion, there are people around who are asking you for coaching and stuff like that. And I've always said, no, I'm not interested. I'm not going to be a coach.
Right, but those people wanted you to coach them in the sailing.
Yeah.
Right. These folks you're working with now, they're asking you to help them train and coach with the mental frame of work.
Yes.
To think and work like a champion versus train this way and take the wave and take the wind this way. This what you're teaching, it's more universal, right? That's what you say, right? You have more business people reaching out to you.
That's true.
Than that athlete, because it's universal, applies anywhere. It can be applicable to any role the individual may have.
Yeah.
So that's great. I'm gonna hit you up one of these days to learn more about that. All right. So I want to give you a big thanks. I know you're a busy man, and I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts and your experiences with us. And one last question: who should we interview next?
Oh, well, if you want to keep with the laser class, maybe Ben Ainsley, Robert Scheid, Tom Slingsby, all great laser sailors, all become greatly successful in other classes later on. Definitely people who can inspire others by their history. So maybe one of those 3.
Maybe all of them.
I wish you that.
I'll reach out to them and tell them that you sent me, and,
no problem.
and see what happens.
If it helps, no problem.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
you.
sharing your experiences. I think I learned a lot, obviously from your life experience, but about this mental toughness. I think this is a huge space to explore for all of us to become better at everything.
And just one, I will add one sentence. The better sailor or an athlete you are becoming, the more the mental toughness is important, because on the top level, this is something that matters, because everybody on top level is working hard, spending a lot of time in the gym, cycling, swimming, sailing. But at least still today, not everyone is spending enough time on their mental preparation.
I can't add anything to that. Thank you for your time, Marcin.
Thank you very much.
Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.